There have been protests in national parks across the United States against President Trump's firing of over 1,000 Park Service employees. Demonstrations were held at locations including the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone and the Lincoln Memorial in Washington. In Yosemite, demonstrators held upside-down American flags.
At the Academy Awards in Hollywood, Anora, a romantic comedy that cost just $6 million to make, has won the Oscar for Best Picture. Its director, Sean Baker, is the first filmmaker to take 4 Oscars for his own work. The head of the European Commission has presented plans to mobilise more than $800 billion over the coming years to increase Europe's defence spending and support for Ukraine. Ursula von der Leyen said Europe was in an era of rearmament.
North Korea has unexpectedly suspended international tours to a northern city just weeks after reopening its borders to tourists for the first time since the pandemic. Several Western tour companies were expected to take visitors to the city of Rason.
The South Korean Air Force says one of its fighter jets mistakenly dropped bombs on a village during a live fire exercise. Reports say 7 people were injured and several houses destroyed. North Korea has stopped international tourists from visiting less than 2 weeks after tour groups were allowed back in. No reason was given.
Iran's supreme leader has rejected a demand from Donald Trump to reach a nuclear deal with the US or face military action. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said Iran wouldn't negotiate under pressure from a bullying country.
Events have taken place in the Japanese capital to mark the 80th anniversary of the firebombing of the city by US planes in the Second World War. Around 100,000 people died in one night.
The Dalai Lama says his successor will be born outside China, despite China's insistence it will choose the next spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism. In a new book, the Dalai Lama said for his replacement to fulfill their purpose, they must be born in the free world.
US tariffs imposing 25% duties on steel and aluminium imports from every country are coming into force. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the US move was entirely unjustified, but it would hold off from retaliation.
The Kremlin says it's in the last stages of retaking the Kursk region, which Ukraine seized last year. Kyiv says it's withdrawing its troops from there. A US delegation is on its way to Moscow for truce talks.
And the French rugby team have beaten Scotland to take the annual Six Nations Championship. France won by 35 points to 16 to finish narrowly ahead of England in the final standings. Earlier in the day, England crushed Wales by a record-breaking 68 points to 14.
President Trump says he'll talk to President Putin on Tuesday about ending the war in Ukraine. He told reporters dividing land and power plants could form part of the conversation. He said he may have something to announce on Tuesday.
2 American astronauts stranded in space for 9 months have begun their journey back to Earth. They were due to spend just 8 days on a mission to the International Space Station, but technical issues prevented their return.
South Korea's industry minister will visit the US this week as Seoul attempts to reverse Washington's surprise decision to classify it as a sensitive country. Though it's a close American ally, South Korea was unexpectedly added to a US watch list of countries that require extra screening before US cooperation on issues such as AI, national security or nuclear energy.
President Trump has urged the US central bank to cut interest rates after it announced that it was keeping them unchanged. The Fed is waiting to see the wider effects of Mr. Trump's new tariffs. A strong welfare system and access to nature may have helped to make Finland the world's happiest country for the 8th year in a row. Denmark came second, while Costa Rica and Mexico entered the top 10 of the UN-sponsored World Happiness Report.
Tesla has been banned from the Vancouver International Auto Show in Canada because of security concerns. Demonstrations have been held across the US targeting Elon Musk, the carmaker's boss and advisor to President Trump.
150,000 residents of the South Korean city of Andong have been told to evacuate to escape raging wildfires. The wildfires, which began on Friday, have been fanned by strong winds and dry weather.
A major inquiry in South Korea has found that previous governments failed to protect children they sent abroad for adoption. Starting in the 1950s, more than 140,000 children, including babies, were sent overseas.
South Korea's military says North Korea sent 3,000 additional troops to Russia this year. It said North Korea also gave Moscow missiles, artillery and ammunition for its war on Ukraine.
Rescue workers in the Thai capital Bangkok have detected signs of life in the ruins of a skyscraper that was brought down by the earthquake. They're using heavy machinery to try to reach at least 15 people trapped under a mountain of rubble.
시청해 주셔서 감사합니다. 다음 시간에 뵙겠습니다.